This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. Morning everyone and welcome to the Morning Glory. Jarrod and Bayram's awake with me as well. And I'm not sure I can properly diagnose the first session, Bayram, but I would say that it had vertigo. If I was to make any assumption at all. Because it's a weird one. England have done probably what they needed to do in taking 2 wickets in the first session, but they've done that with a surprise short ball that kind of came from nowhere and a half volley that should have been hit for 4.
Yeah, well, if England or this first session is showing signs of vertigo, then it should be ruled out of this test match, Jarrod, because those symptoms are what ruled Steve Smith out, right? He was pretty pissed. I saw some clips. He wasn't having any of that.
I think again though, like people will go, "Oh, look how angry he is." It's like, yeah, he was told he couldn't play and he wanted to play. Like, that's kind of what I would expect. That's what you want players to do. They're very much desperate to play. It's become a bigger issue, I think, because of the fact that Australia lost the 2 wickets in the first session. But Khawaja, and look, we'll get to it. I'll just go through my notes first because that's how I start Morning Glory. Wides cast bowling in swing from around the wicket to left-handers. This is a classic modern England thing, right? Of like, we've got a plan, we're going to bowl around the wicket, we're going to cramp him. Then the ball starts to swing and they don't go, whoa, wait a minute, maybe it might be better if he bowls from over the wicket. Anyway, cast completely lost the plot. It looked like he shouldn't have got the new ball. It was really, really poor. One of my notes just says, stop bowling short and wide. What is wrong with you? I thought Jofra looked good early on, but the pitch may not suit him as it seems dead. But then my next note actually sort of foretells the wicket, although I don't remember thinking this at all as I was. I thought the pitch was a little bit too paced at times. And the one that gets Weatherall just gets on him a little bit quick. And if you have a look later on, Bayram, the one that hits Usman Khawaja when he tries to leave it, not hits him, but hits the bat. Again, I just thought, oh, because there were some balls that just died on the way through the keeper, and then a couple did not. The Weatherall wicket, I thought was good bowling by Jofra, considering that you've got the opening bowler at the other end is just like literally opening the gates and shooing the cattle away. And then of course, because it doesn't really matter how well or he doesn't cast bowls, he still gets wickets. He gets the Weatherall one from, we're calling that a half volley, a wideish half volley. It's not a good ball, is it? So that happened early on against Khawaja. I don't know what England were thinking. Like, this is a man who has not made runs consistently in a long time. Was not expecting to bat at number 4. Was not expecting to play at this test match. And I think I counted 2 of the first 7 balls roughly in the right area. Then they actually strung a bunch of good balls to him. They got the outside edge that should have been caught. They got a pull shot that isn't even a Khawaja shot, I wouldn't have thought, especially early in his innings. But unfortunately, by that stage, he was kind of in, and the dropping the catch was kind of the end of it, right? And he looked really, really good at that point. Marnus just seemed to be getting off strike. Khawaja seemed to be facing all the balls for a long period of time. The only issue I had with Marnus was the leading edge. I thought Tongue looked really good. I actually think Tongue might have bowled as well as Jofra, maybe even a little bit better than Jofra at times. And I thought that they had to get Khawaja off strike to him. And then they brought Will Jacks on, which these are the 2 guys I think are the most happy to be facing Will Jacks. There was the one edge right towards the end, but how many runs had he gone for by that stage? Like 18 runs in 2 overs. They looked really comfortable against Will Jacks. So those are my notes. I think I might have said in our group, I don't know, I've got so many groups going on, Bayram, I'm not sure where I am, but I think I said in our group that like there were times where I was like, Australia could like just combust on their own here and get bowled out for 200, but also they could be 2 down at the close of play. Like, I have no idea how to properly analyze that first session.
Depending on how many groups you were in, I can definitely confirm, though, you did mention that on our group and the chat room on Good Areas Network on WhatsApp kind of kept me alive through this session. A lot of people are commenting that I might doze off any minute. Well, this is going to be a tough test match to cover with respect to the time difference.
It's also worth saying that the Morning Glory show is essentially like, that is what it's basically a show to keep us awake, and exactly. it doesn't always keep me awake.
I've never even been on Morning Glory before, and the only reason I chose to or opted to join today was that okay, this will help me pass the time. I won't doze off. Look, one thing that I feel was irrelevant today was the toss. I was confident Stokesy would field first and Paddy Cummins would bat first, so that doesn't mean anything. It is an interesting deck in the sense that I don't see a lot of life on it. It's probably a bit on the slower side, right? As
Yeah.
Skull kept pointing out. So that kind of does suit Usman Khawaja. And Uzi gets lucky, right? He was stuck. He was struggling for runs. Tung bowled the most disciplined spell I've ever seen him bowl, right? Josh Tung for once was, he kind of found his zone and he was peppering the ball in the same area, and he gets Khawaja's outside edge, and Harry Brook drops that catch. And England have been dropping catches. This could be a costly one. Khwaja was
And
what,
to be
on
fair,
six?
the Crawley catch was really good as well. We
Yes.
have to point that out. Like that was a wicket that was mostly, it had very little to do with the bowler and was mostly to do with the catch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a terrible ball by Bryden Cast, in fact. And Head kind of looked out of sorts. I mean, if you're playing Usman Khawaja, might as well open with him, and you can slot Travis Head in the middle order. That was always an option. We've got Johnny from our Discord channel in the chat. And so that was an interesting one, that Khwaja's batting at 4 as the direct smudger replacement. And I just felt that, those 2 wickets that fell, sure, I mean, that was a good bumper by Jofra, came out of nowhere. And before that, they were kind of feeding Weatherall balls to cut, as if they were testing if Weatherall can cut the ball.
Let's go back on that. I mean, it really was. So they're coming around the wicket, and if you're tongue any ball around the wicket because of his angle, there is a chance that you could still give balls to cut. If you're casted, you're coming around the wicket, you actually really need to try to be cut. Like, it's not easy. Maybe later on in the game when the pitch is a bit flat and the batters will just take you on anyway. But like, I took a photo of the pitch map at one stage and I was like, these balls are bowled to be cut. That is all they are. And again, I went on TalkSport yesterday. I was like, these are dumb plans. He was bowling on the wrong side of the wicket. It should have been over the wicket, especially when he was swinging the ball. And then he was bowling way too short and way too wide. Like, this is, Harmy kept saying to me, I'm not sure that this is a plan, and maybe they're just bowling shit, right? Which is terrifying if you're an England fan to hear that, by the way. But I was watching this and then I was thinking to myself, oh God, like maybe he's right, because but at the same time, Bayram, they were clearly trying to bowl around the wicket. Like, they had this idea of cramping Weatherall up, which, to be fair, works for Jofra, but I think Jofra should bowl around the wicket. Jofra can bowl either side to the left-handers. But I think if you're swinging the ball back in, you really want to be keeping the stumps in play and bowling a little bit fuller. And instead, he's bowling these incredible balls. It's like watching early Ishad Sharma, where you're like, that's an incredible ball, it's not going to get him out. That's an incredible ball, it's not going to get him out. And then it was also like early Ishad Sharma, it's like, and that's a shithouse ball, that's going to get hit for 4.
It was so weird, man. Bryden Cast actually got some new ball swing, and I was like, okay, if he finds his length over here, maybe he could do some damage. He does get Travis Head out, but that's Crawley's wicket, really. He does take a spectacular one-handed take. Great grab from him. I just felt like, the one thing that I learned from both the previous test matches is that Jake Weatherall will throw his hands at any width that you offer him, right? That's the one area you don't bowl at him, short and wide. Just don't do it, He might have some limitations.
And let's be fair,
that's
probably why they bowled around the wicket to him, right? They didn't want the angle across. And like, I can kind of understand that, except for somehow Carr still managed to give him width, even though he was coming around the wicket. But when you're swinging the ball back in, as you've just said, you don't want to give him any width, which I think is a fair assumption from certainly what I've seen in Shield cricket and what we're seeing so far in Test cricket. You don't have to worry about that with the ball swinging back in. Like, this is when, like, I went on TalkSport and basically just savaged England for being dumb, right? This is what I'm talking about. I have no problem with them coming in with a plan and, as you said, going, if we bowl around the wicket, we can cramp him up, right? Fine. The minute the ball starts to swing back, you go, oh, actually, let's alter that plan a little bit, because now the natural swing of the ball, they've completely wasted the swing here.
Yeah.
They got away with it because of Jofra bowling a really good spell and because of Crawley's catch. But they completely wasted the swing on what looks like a pretty slow pitch. It's a little bit too paced. The bounce is a little bit low. I don't think it doesn't look like a batting paradise at the moment. We're only one session in. The pitch may settle down. It may become one. Right at the moment, it doesn't quite look like that. But they've wasted a perfect opportunity. And their ability in this series to waste good opportunities, Bayram, is their strike rate for batting is not as high as their strike rate for fucking up is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Harry Brook catch, you take those at this level, especially when you've dropped like 5 in the previous test match. Surely you take them now. Khawaja, had he gone out at that point and England had gotten like 3 to 4 wickets in the first session, they'd be right up top. Right now, as you said, maybe Australia stutter, maybe it's just Marnus and Khawaja at the end of today's play. You never know. It could go anywhere. But I feel like, yes, they get the new ball swing, but they don't get the 2 wickets because of it, right?
No.
Like, it's a good bumper, it's a good catch by Crawley, and then, yeah, the one time Josh Tongue actually finds his length, something the cast failed to do, because cast was either short and wide, or short and full, or drifting down the pads of the left-handed batters.
Or really just half volleys, right?
Yes. I mean, it was just really off.
Bryden Castle's ability to bowl half trackers and half volleys, he's like, I don't know, he's just a half bowler. Like, it's crazy. Sorry, what was your question?
My question is, and you might not know the answer, maybe someone in the comments does, or maybe you know the answer. Does he take the new ball for his county side? Because it really feels like this isn't his skill.
That is a very good question, which, of course, I don't know if I have all my stats here on this computer. But he's not a new ball bowler. Like, it's not his speciality. I'm pretty sure he hasn't done it the vast majority of his first-class cricket. And he looked like it today. The problem is, this is where they've ended up, right? And it'd be really interesting to see how this test goes from here. But where they've ended up is essentially playing the 2 guys in the side you don't really want to have both in the same team, right? Now, they might say, well, if this is a flat wicket, we need our 2 flat wicket bowlers. And to be fair, Cass and Tung might be those guys, right?
Yeah.
The ability to get wickets even when you're bowling shit, all that sort of stuff, right? They can both bowl bouncer spells. Like, there's plenty of optionality that they have with those 2 guys. But realistically, the fact that one of them has to take the new ball and they're both in the same attack after 2 tests is, I mean, I don't know. I thought Gus Atkinson really struggled at times. I don't think he's fully fit. And when Gus Atkinson has the slightest niggle, he's ass. Or he's just one of those bowlers who needs to be fully fit all the time. But I'm not sure they wouldn't have been a much better start if they'd had Atkinson, right? Now they pulled it back, but they pulled it back in the most gifty way of all time.
The thing with Gus Atkinson is that, he's supposed to be this accuracy bowler who gets the ball to seam off the deck. And he really excelled with that scrambled seam delivery when I was over for his test debut, when Jimmy was playing his last test. And Gus Atkinson was the story of that test match. If you remember, he was the guy. And at that point, I remember you mentioned that, sure, you have that scrambled seam delivery, but are you then a new ball bowler or are you just fucking up the new ball? Right? Like, there is that question mark over there. And I feel like I would have also gone for Josh Tongue in this test match because he's the only fast bowler left that they haven't tried. I mean, Potts is around as well, I suppose. Maybe we'll see him featured late.
But if you
Matt Fisher?
Yeah, but I mean, if you have Potts and you need a new ball bowler, does he not make more sense than Cast? Is my question. Now, they need Cast for the batting, but they do have Will Jacks at number 8. I mean, we haven't even got to Will Jacks yet. Actually, first, what did you think of Stokes' bowling?
It was bad today. There was that one good one that Marnus nearly goes out to, but there was an inside edge. And I feel like his best bet right now is to shape the ball in towards Marnus and kind of try and get him LBW. But apart from that, there was some width. There was some full length deliveries. At least one that I can remember that Marnus cover drove. And I felt like Stokesy, like he's the one who starts bowling that friendly hip high ball to Usman Khawaja, which he'll just pull for fun, right? Like, and I said this in the group. I was like, soon enough, now that they've dropped his catch, they're going to give him friendly hip high deliveries, which Khawaja will pull. And then when they brought Jacks on, I was like, oh, maybe they want Khawaja to sweep. And guess what? He swept. Because we know he does those things, Jarrod. Why do these people don't know that? Why does England like pretend like they haven't watched these people or these Australian cricketers play cricket before?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think that was a bit weird. I'm not exactly sure what the thought process was there, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, so the reason I bring up Stokes is I think someone in the chat might have said that he didn't bowl well also. But I would take it a step further than he didn't bowl well. He's, again, a very similar bowler to Cass and to Tongue in that he's not a new ball bowler. He sprays it around a little bit. He tries lots of different things. He's not exactly the same kind of bowler as the other two because they're obviously a lot bigger, different kinds of bodies and everything. And he's a bit more skillful in that he could swing the ball, all these sorts of things. But you basically have three bowlers. Tung's bowled really, really well. So I don't want to have a go at him today. But I'm saying as a bowling attack, they have three kind of licorice all sorts bowlers, right? All wicket takers, right? But also all can go at 4.5 runs and over, right? All, two of them can get the yips and the other one can go for lots of runs as well. Again, you look at this attack and you keep thinking to yourself, well, why don't you, if you're definitely going to have Jofra and you're definitely going to have Stokes, is it not worth to have the one sort of sensible professional bowler who can hit the top of off and everything else? And today, when it was moving around early, I just wonder what would have happened if Jofra had a real bowler at the other end, right? Like, not a real bowler, a real new ball bowler at the other end.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth giving some thought to that perhaps, in the second innings or if they get in the second new ball, maybe give it to Josh Tongue because he was hitting the right areas and that's kind of what you want to do, but he might not be able to control it, Jarrod. We know he can be really erratic. If this was one disciplined spell, we don't want to kind of, go overboard and assume that Josh Tongue will manage this throughout the test match. I mean, he's been brilliant thus far.
Just on his bowling in general, like it is, I think he really suits, especially when there's a little bit of movement around. He really suits bowling to left-handers because he has that weird action where he sort of comes from around the wicket, but he could still take the ball away because he sort of falls over a little bit. And I think I said in my notes, right? Khawaja was struggling with that angle quite a bit.
When I watch Josh Tongue bowl, when I look at that bowling action up close, my body hurts. It just feels like that's not a good bowling action for the body because I don't know, it's just so awkward, right? But you're right. You perhaps, try to get him in with the new ball and then he can be your tail sweeper, right? Like he's good at that. He can get those wickets, which England sometimes struggle to get. However, I do feel like the pace bowling attack is still a touch too one-dimensional, as you were alluding to. The spinner is Will Jacks, and I was thinking to myself...
Just before we get to Will Jacks, because I do want to talk about it, but you asked a good question before, and it's taken me all this time to find the stats.
Yeah.
This is the 21st time in his career that Bryden Cast has taken the new ball. What do you think his first-class bowling average is when he takes the new ball?
Is it 33?
Keep going.
Am I warm?
Yeah, you're not cold.
Okay, 37?
Yeah, basically 38.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Everywhere else that he bowls, his bowling average is significantly lower. Right?
Yeah, well...
And he also goes at 4 runs and over. So, I mean, in some ways, England have got the bonus. They got the wicket out of it. They got the Bryden Cast RC wicket, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
And because Jofra didn't go for any runs at the other end, Weatherald and Head didn't get away. Because Jofra, had gone for 4 runs and 4 overs at one stage, hadn't he? Or something ridiculous like that. Like, if that was the case, they had a huge chance there. But yeah, just my point is, just to go back to what you were saying before, is that's what we're talking about. It hasn't cost England, but they got the 2 lucky wickets. If you put 2 lucky wickets, sorry, 1 lucky wicket, certainly.
Yeah.
But and one non-traditional new ballish wicket, if that makes sense, especially on Adelaide. But if they got 1 other wicket by bowling correctly, right, even before Tongue gets the drop catch, this is a completely different test match at that point, right? Yeah. So you're going to talk about Will Jacks.
Yeah, well, before Will Jacks, I feel like it was a session of 3 phases. First is short and wide stuff, which Australian batters are cutting away for. Then there are those 2 lucky wickets and this stucky phase, or, where Usman Khawaja is struggling for runs. Manas is still kind of just rotating strike, apart from a couple of boundaries. And then Khawaja just kind of flips a switch. It's not really T20 mode. Perhaps it's ODI mode. He's pulling the ball for fun. They bring on their, non-spinner, who we're going to talk about in a bit, and he's sweeping the ball. But my question to you regarding Will Jacks is that, sometimes when I'm watching Pakistan play Test cricket in Sena, their lone spinner is Salman Ali Agha, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure about this, And now I'm thinking to myself, is Salman Ali Agha like the better version of Will Jacks?
I think he's a better bowler than Will Jacks, isn't he?
Yeah. He is, and
because what happened is England seem to do this. They pluck these players out of nowhere and they take wickets early on, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy could really play. Look at Gus Atkinson, right? Like, Dominic Bess and all these guys." And then you're just like, Yeah, but look, watching them, that doesn't make sense. What I've just seen doesn't make sense, right? And I think again, you've got this player who started really good in his career, and so there's an element of, oh, maybe he's a bowler. He's not a bowler, right? Like, and that's
Hmm.
not having a go at him as a player or anything. But Will Jacks is quite clearly not a bowler, and Will Jacks doesn't think he's a bowler. But
Hmm.
from what I've heard, and these are, you hear things like Steve Smith is sick, and that one comes true, but you hear a lot of other things that aren't true. But from what I have heard, Shoaib Bashir has been bowling so poorly in the nets that they just do
Hmm.
not feel confident in bowling him at all, right? And they don't feel like that's a chance. But Will Jacks, 59 first class games, 50 wickets at an average of 42, right? Like
Yeah.
he's not a bowler. And Khawaja and Marnus played him that way, right? They played him like, oh, okay, there's runs here. And they did it in the first test that Jacks played as well, where I think Marnus attacked him in that one. They are very clear that it's like, you're not going to bowl to us, right? You are
Yeah.
not going to bowl to us.
I'm just checking Travis Head's first class bowling average now. Oh, it's worse. It's 58.67. But now the question in my head was, is he a shittier bowler than Travis Head? Because he is definitely a part timer. He's just
I
not a
don't think he
frontline
could
spinner.
get Travis Head to bowl like 10 overs though, and I think with Will Jacks you can,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I do think there's something in Will Jacks's bowling that is like his action is quite repeatable. The ball comes out of his hands okay. Like there are some things that are fine. But the problem is that if you look traditionally, like in first class cricket, he's going to about 3.3 runs an over in England, right?
Mm.
Where he should be bowling dry and he's not taking wickets. So where does he kind of fit in? That said, he got an edge. It wasn't that far away, but Australia are showing absolutely no respect to his bowling at all so far. What do you think of Khawaja? Like, because you said he started playing away. I thought what was interesting about him is that Khawaja is really good at punishing mistakes, right?
Yeah.
He's not someone who forces mistakes. He's someone who waits for them and everything else. But he does most of that, I would say, on length, right? And
Hmm.
so England, because they can't hit a fucking length, two balls in a fucking row in this fucking series, right? It means that he was sweating on short stuff and he was sweating on full stuff, and they just gave him both of those things. And so you can
Hmm.
even see it with the pull shot that he tried that was terrible, right? He was just
Yeah.
like it was a part of him just being like, they're going to give me they're going to give me another short one, so I'll be ready for it. And then he got a couple of full ones. I think there was a good ball from Tongue that he turned off the stumps for four. There's nothing wrong with that ball. Like, you're happy if he's doing that. But most of the other balls were like either overpitched. I was going to say overpitched,
Mhm.
or
It's
underpitched,
late.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
pitched. I don't know. Maybe that's a word now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought Uzi looked out of sorts when he came into bat, and
Mm.
I thought this is
Really
going
out
to
of
be one of
sorts.
those days, where they're going to get three early wickets, and we're going to get excited after another day one in this Ashes, where we feel that England can do something before they just go on and bottle the Test match. But once there is that dropped catch of Harry Brook, and Khwaja's on six at that point, after that, I feel like he kind of has this chat with himself that, all right, just try and play your shots, and there's a bit of premeditated stuff in that, like that pull shot that you speak of, right? I think it was a mental switch that he turns on over there, because he's, visibly more aggressive. And as you say, Khwaja is someone who doesn't, kind of spare those loose deliveries. And we all know that he is very, very strong off his legs and off the pull, and he's a good sweeper of the ball. So the one thing you probably need to do is keep your line and length kind of at that off stump, or maybe a
Yeah.
little outside off stump, and they don't do that, right? Even if you're slightly outside off stump, he can sometimes shuffle and pull you away. So he is that kind of batter. And
Mm.
he is someone who kind of falls on his front leg when he's on the front foot. So I'd rather have him on the front foot as opposed to the back foot, whereas I feel like they didn't really do that. We know he can be susceptible to the short stuff, but they didn't bowl proper bumpers to him either. And now he's on his third wind. Is that fair? Because his second wind was the SCG test where he brought out the LeBron celebration. And now like, it's like the cricketing gods really wanted Uzi to play this test match, because we were talking, or the world was talking about his career as if it was done, as if this was it. He's not
It
even
was
going to get a
actually.
farewell test. And now he
Well, I
gets to
did.
play instead of Smudger.
I did the big video, obviously on him, and I was like, because I hadn't really talked. I'm not out there, and and I've sent a couple of messages, but I couldn't get an idea of what their theory was. But I thought there was a chance he might play for Inglis, but they might say to him, "Sorry, mate, but that's it," right? But I also thought there was a very big chance they just wouldn't pick him, and obviously they weren't planning on picking him. Like if you look at the way this team has gone, and when I did my piece, I was like, "Oh God, if he retires." And I've now done the retirement piece before he's retired. And is it a retirement piece? And I was really, really worried. So him coming back, I think, allows me another bite of the cherry if I need to do that Bayram. But yeah, look, it's a pitch that looks. I think someone said in the comments really early on. It's a pitch that looks like he is a good chance really of making runs. It's a slower surface. As I said, he's waiting for the right length. England bowl a lot of those lengths that are just wildly different to him. So there's a lot of things there that can go right for him at the moment. What's fascinating is how fast he's scoring, right? And that is not an Usman Khawaja thing. Even when he batted at number 5, right? That's just not a thing that he does naturally. And so I'm with you. He definitely looked uncomfortable early on. He wasn't batting particularly well. And then he's worked through that quite well. But it'd be... I think if you're England, I think the way, even though Marnus has looked really, really good, I think England always think they've got a chance with Marnus. I think they think they've always got a chance of him turning the ball, squaring himself up, or occasionally just playing a shot he doesn't need to play outside off stump to them. I don't think they feel that way with Khawaja, right? If you go back to the 2023 Ashes, I think they believe that once Khawaja's in, they're not really 100% sure what to do with him. We saw those ridiculous fields at Edgbaston where they were just like, when something just has to work, right? And so I think that's more of an issue as well there. Well, so, there's a lot of different moving parts, I suppose, with him.
Surely you target that 3rd to 5th stump line and try to make him play square of the wicket on the offside and try to get his edge again. I mean, he's done that once. Surely you kind of try to replicate that. I don't know. When he does get in, Usman Khawaja is a really tough person to get out, and that's kind of been his career. He's the guy who has persisted through everything, and he is just a stubborn man, right? And I feel like with Khawaja, a lot of it comes down to his mental game as well. Because look, he's got his limitations. He's always had them. But whenever he's in this zone of clarity, that's when he does best. And that's what we saw in those 2 years where he was the best opener in Test cricket globally. And now I feel maybe this stuff is going on in his mind that, okay, my career is coming to an end. I've just gotten dropped at 6. Might as well have some fun. I think that's where he's at currently. I haven't spoken to him, but it feels like he's giving off that sort of energy. And he's already done a job for Australia. Like that 6-run innings is already a 41-run innings at the very least. And Australia, 94 for 2 at lunch? So if they end this day at, let's say, 295 for 5, they take it, right? Surely they take it.
Yeah. I mean, with the two early RC wickets, I think they'll probably think, we lost 3 normal wickets, hopefully, throughout the rest of the day. So you're right. The other thing about Khawaja, we have done a video on the main channel, so it's worth going over and having a look at that. Also, if you're into the IPL auction, the boys, I did about an hour and a half chat. They did about 2 hour and a half chat earlier today as well.
Is editing that for an audio? Because poor guy.
I don't know. I wouldn't edit it. I'd just post it if I was him.
I'm going to check Trello.
but yeah, so I think Khawaja, if you look at his runs, he's an incredible player on flat pitches, so draws specifically, right? Yeah. And it's because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and that's what we were talking about at the start. And again, he's not got a great record in Adelaide. It's fine. I think he averages mid-40s in Adelaide, right? But this is a lot of that cricket is probably having been played on pink ball Adelaide Test matches. Right. Whereas actually it'd be, I'm not going to go in now and check his Adelaide Oval record for day-night versus day. But my assumption would be that he's probably, because he's not a great pink ball player, he probably prefers that little bit of extra slowness. He's actually, for me, he's a very sort of traditional New South Wales type of batter, where the wickets do spin a little bit more, the wickets can be a little bit flatter, and they punish you every time you make a mistake, right? That sort of the sort of players that we've seen over the years. Maybe a Mark Taylor is the sort of guy that comes to mind on that. They don't really force anything else on you, but once he gets in, that's a big problem, and that's where England find themselves, right? Like as I said before, they bowled 2 of the first 7 balls were in the right area against someone they knew was out of position, wasn't expecting to be in, and is out of form. And that's kind of where we keep coming back to with England, is that it's not that they bowl good balls. Like, I don't think Ben Stokes bowled well this morning, but he almost slipped one through Marnus, right?
Yeah.
Like they do that, but they don't build up any pressure, right? Because so often they just give you another ball you can whack.
As Skull kept putting it, they were searching for the money ball. But my counter argument to that is that surely you bowl a touch more full if you're going for the money ball, right? I felt like they've just consistently been short and they haven't found their length, and it's test number 3. Other teams don't get test number 3, right? Like, or at most they get test number 3. Surely you should have figured that out by now.
No, exactly. So this is our Rushline. So big thanks to them for supporting us all the way through. You can download the Rushline app. They have Australia as a 73% chance and England at a 13% chance at the moment. I think they had England at about a 10% chance coming in, and I was saying that I thought there was a lot of value in that early on if you did that. But England have kind of already had their luck. So I mean, maybe at this point you probably already have cashed out if you were following the way that I was talking about it. But I still think they're in. Anyway, they're back out on the ground. Are they? No.
Okay.
They're not back out on the ground, are they?
So the one thing
are they back out on the ground, or are they just showing the drop? I'm so confused.
I have no idea. Well,
Sorry,
they should be out in like 2-3 minutes anyway. But 14% draw over here, I feel like is an important one, and I feel like this could be the sort of test match where we get a day 5. It's a slowish pitch.
I can give you an exclusive on that if you want. Rob Barron has backed day 5, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. I'm not going to disclose the exact backing number, but Rob Barron has gone all in on number 5.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We see pitches like this in Adelaide. We quite often think draws. You don't get a lot of draws in Adelaide. And as I said before, it's a little bit too paced. It's a little bit up and down. Jofra Archer has the new ball. That is going to be us done for the day.
Yep.
And is that a wicket first ball after lunch off?
You're kidding me.
A back of a length ball that he somehow punched straight to short mid wicket. Oh my God. Well, that's the two pace nature I was just saying in the wicket again.
Wait, so who got out?
Marnus. Marnus has just played that short little, this is the kind of shot I was talking about with him. He's just played that little shovel pull shot off the splice of the bat, and it's gone straight to short mid wicket.
I mean, there's 2 free wickets for England now, 1 good bumper, and 1 wicket that Josh Tongue earned and never got.
As I said before, it was a weird session, and it continues to be a weird day. 94 for 3. England are well in this. It's their position to stuff up. Anyway, we'll be back on just after the close of play later on today. There'll be a video on the main channel as well. Thanks to Bayram, but thanks to everyone in the comments as well. And we'll see you very soon here for more good areas. Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.